Okay, hello everybody. Hello. Happy paint party night. I'm so excited. So let me just do a quick introduction. Let me make sure everything's working first because I know I've got a lot of people that are going to be tuning in tonight. Let me make sure. It looks like everything's working good. So give me a shout out when you're coming in. Who's painting with me tonight? Give me a shout out if you're painting. I'm so excited. I love doing the live paint classes. They're my favorite thing in the world to do. So first of all, thank you so much for being here live and spending a little bit of time with me painting. If you're brand new here, my name's Kelly Weiler. I'm the owner of Girl Upcycled, and I also have a really sweet little group called the Creators Club where I teach all styles of art. Sometimes we do palette painting, which, by the way, is what we're going to be doing tonight. Sometimes I teach intuitive art, sometimes mixed media, journaling, what else? All kinds of figurative, you name it. So it's all things art. Sometimes we even paint on furniture. That's right, we do paint art on our furniture, and that's kind of my thing, is trying to get people to think about, no matter what you're creating on and what you're painting on, that you treat it like a masterpiece, a piece of art, something that you're trying to relay, right? So hi everybody, hello, hi, my buddy Andrea and my buddy Kristen. It's so nice to see all your faces here. Hi Stacy, hi Kathy's painting. All right, great. So just a little bit about myself. I do have a physical location here in Zanesville, Ohio, which my studio is kind of what you see in the background. I've kind of placed it to where you're not seeing my big messy place, which would be back behind the camera. So, but we're located in Zanesville, which is just about an hour east of Columbus. I am also a DIY paint retailer, and I am also an IOD retailer. So that's just a little bit about what you can find here in the studio. Also, one quick thing, I am going to click on my little video here, and I'm going to drop the link to the materials list. So if you did not get the materials list, I'm going to try to drop it here, and we'll see if it may take you to it. I don't know. You may have to wait until the class is done, but I want to make sure that everybody has access to that. Hopefully that goes okay. So it probably won't generate until the live feed is over, but that's okay. You can always do it on the replay. So, great. All right, you guys are coming in still. So I'll give you guys a second, get your paints ready. I'm gonna show you just a quick little picture here, and the bright lights, let me see if I can show you. I don't know if you can see okay. Let me look. It's looking a little more washed out than it does in live, just a tad bit, but I think you're getting the idea. There's a ton of texture to this, and just a little secret, just between you and me, so you can't tell anybody, this has other layers of pictures underneath it, so the more layers that you have, the more chunky, see all that chunkiness that you can see, the more texture you're going to get. So don't be afraid. You know those canvases that you have in your closet you don't want to show anyone? This is a great paint technique to do on those, okay? Is it blurry? Somebody else tell me if it's blurry, because it's looking okay on my end. And it could be just my area. Sometimes we do have a little trouble. But it's looking good on my end, so hopefully it's okay. Okay, so what we're going to start with is I have I believe, let me go over the materials list. I believe it's a 16 by 20. Is that what I told you? I have to pull up my own materials list here, gang. But if you have your materials list, I think it's a 16 by 20 piece. Let's see. Give me just a second. And I am going to paint this class just like I do in my Creators Club so that you all get like a really good idea of what it's like. So everybody's saying it's good. 16 by 20 is what I have. Okay, good. So we are going to start with our background first, and we're also going to start with the knife, okay? So, and let's just talk real quickly about the knives. Who has used knives before? Has anybody used paint knives? If you have not, it is such an easy process. I promise you, I've had so much success with beginners using these knives. They almost, I would say not almost, they do an easier job than with a paintbrush. Because when you're using a knife, you're going for kind of an impression of something. It's not like you're going for an exact, you know, look. So if you look at the lines, Donna, you are so welcome. So this is just really to kind of give you guys a little taste of what it's like in the club, and I just kind of want you to know what you're getting into, some of the things that we do in there. So I think this is a good way to show you. But if you look on the sides here, look in the sides right here, you'll see that it's not a distinct line. I mean, we can get distinct lines, but it's not something that we really are looking for. It's just a very easy way to learn, especially for beginners. So I thought it would be fun to kind of show all of you guys how to use it. So probably the knife that I use the most is this one. You can tell by, look at my finger. You can tell by my finger how thin and long it is, and it's has this little curve on the top. And I tend to gravitate towards this one all the time. It's just my personal preference, okay? So when we're working on the piece today, you're going to probably want something with a rounded edge. So this one also has a rounded edge. The tip of that one has a rounded edge, although I don't know if that angle will mess with you. But anything with a nice soft rounded edge. The actual knives that I'm using are from Master's Touch. You can get them at Hobby Lobby or any store like that. You can also just get the little sample disposables if you want to and give it a try, okay? The disposable pack that they sell has probably 5 or 6 different sizes in there. So that's a great way to jump in, get your hands on it, and see kind of what feels good to you. Kat says she prefers them over the brushes. Yay. Lori says she set an alarm so she didn't miss. Hi Rachel, how are you? All right, so I want to go ahead and get started with the first layer because I do need to let that layer dry before I move on. So let's go ahead, and we're just, nothing fancy, we're just going to slap that first layer on there real quick, okay? And then after that we can talk a little bit more. I'm going to be trying to watch your the feed if you have questions or problems or anything of that nature, okay? So the first color I'm going to go with is called, it is the DIY paint line, but you do not have to use that. You guys use what you have. It is kind of a nest egg blue kind of a tone, and it's called Farm Fresh. So we're going to start with that, and I'm going to probably use these 2 knives. I'm going to put my first layer on with this larger one just so I can cover a little bit more. Hi Deb. Hi Cheryl. All right, so let me go ahead and flip this down so you can see a little bit. And this is exactly how I do my classes. Let me flip it so you can kind of look at the canvas as I'm looking at it. Okay? Everybody see okay? I'm going to start with Farm Fresh, and I do like to use these little bottles. They're very convenient to keep your paint in, and I do have molding paste or texture medium that I will be using, but I am not going to use it until I get to my flowers, okay? If you want your background to be thicker and chunkier, then by all means go ahead and you can go ahead and do that if you want. So I am just taking my knife and I'm just scraping it kind of on there. You can probably hear it. Now, like I said before, my demo that I did, I have another painting underneath of it, so that background's going to probably look a little bit thicker than this one. But I don't want to, for drying purposes, I don't want to make you all wait on me for that first layer to dry. If you do want yours thicker, all you need to do for your background is just to add a dollop, like about a teaspoon of molding paste. And I have the Liquitex brand is the one that I'm using. They have many, many brands out there. I'm just basically kind of crisscrossing it. You can hear me kind of scraping it. And so what we're going for is, we're going for movement, we're going for the lines, we're going for texture, all of that, right? You want to be careful you don't drag your sleeve in that, not that I've done that or anything. I may or may not know that from experience, just saying. I am not seeing your, let's see, there we go. Hi, Susan. Can't paint, but she's watching. So Susan Mary Skinner, she is one of my creators club. In fact, I would love to hear from all of the ladies that are in the creators club. Give a little shout out. And any of you can feel free to answer any questions for anyone. If you see, if I miss a question, if you guys would jump in, because they know what's going on in there. Now, if you want to, you can, at this part, you can even just squirt it right on there, because we're going for texture. And like I said, I want to make sure that I get this layer nice and dry. Get that on there, and then we'll talk a little bit while it's drying. How's that sound? So I am just really, it's almost like you are icing a cake at this point. The DIY paint is pretty thick, so I do actually use a knife quite a bit just with the paint on its own. So if you have a certain brand of paint that's maybe a little runny, then by all means you go ahead and you add that texture medium or that the modeling paste into yours if you need to. But I think that's good. And let's see. And I'm going to put this I'm going to put this back behind us and turn the dryer on, okay? Let me see. That's good. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. That's awesome. I'm going to change my angle here. I'll be right back. I'm going to dry this while we chit-chat. And that is the one thing that maybe I did not have on the materials list is a hairdryer. So you do want to make sure that this layer is nice and dry. Oh my gosh. What? Who's rude? I missed it. I totally missed it, so it's okay. Thank you, Patricia. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, you. So anyway, we are going to let that first layer completely dry before we go on to the next layer. So a lot of times in the group, I'll just have a little hair dryer, and it takes just a few seconds, and we kind of catch up with each other. When we are drying in between layers is kind of a time when we kind of, in the building, there's an event going on. There's another paint party going on, and there's a brewery in the building, so. Anyway, yeah, so we just kind of chit-chat. Sometimes we talk about upcoming art classes. We talk a lot about what they want to do as a member of the Creators Club, because the Creators Club is for them. That is their place, that is their group, and they're the ones that kind of drive the creative bus there, and they're the ones that pick out what they want to work on. And so here lately, we have been doing quite a bit of abstract figurative, which we all love, and they are thriving. We have been doing that quite a bit. I start every month, at the beginning of the month, the first Tuesday of the month, we always start off with an intuitive painting class. And I just feel like it's a really, really important process for everybody to learn, because once you start to learn to trust that little gut feeling, you know, when you get that little gut feeling like, oh, I really want to do this to it, but oh my gosh, I really like where it's at so far, and I'm afraid to mess it up. So what I have taught them is let go of a little something that you kind of like to make room for something amazing that you're actually going to love. Don't be afraid of making a change. So thanks Tanya. So Tanya from Delilah Design, she is one of the Creators Club members, and she said she enjoyed the last class that we had. So let me show you a little bit what we did. Well, I'll just show you this one. So the last class that we had, we did a figurative abstract working with colors and patterns and making shapes. So this, we did like a little design here. Designs within designs. So we're really exploring many, many fun things, but the intuitive work that you do at the beginning of the month makes you really grow in whatever you're doing. I have many ladies in there that maybe they're furniture painters, or maybe they're just people that have joined in to learn about art, or they didn't realize that they could even do art. They are now selling their artwork, and their artwork that they sell now pays for them to be a member of the group and more. So I'm so proud of all of them. They're amazing, and it's been a joy to watch them grow and thrive. And some of them are creating YouTube channels now. Some of them are making other products with their artwork and selling it. So it's been just a really fun journey. And these are some ladies that just started painting, and they're already going that far. All right, so it looks like it's almost dry. The middle of it needs to be dry before we go on. So I want to go ahead. It's probably still a little bit wet on the edges, but I want to go ahead and get started because I want to be mindful of your time. Hopefully you're relaxing though, because I do think that with art, it is very therapeutic, is what we really have found. So the next thing we're going to do is, if you don't have like a pencil or a little piece of chalk, you can just get a little bit of your paint if you want to, and just to kind of make some guidelines. I'm not sure if I put chalk on there, gang. I may have missed that on the list. And let me go ahead. Oh, thanks, Jerry. Let me change this upside down so you can see. There we go. Okay. Everybody see okay? All right, so you can see where it has dried. So we're going to probably give ourselves about a couple of inches at the bottom here. And remember, on the list I said to have a couple of plates. So this is why, and this is how easy the classes are when you are a beginner and you come into the Creators Club. I have what is called Splatter and Chatter classes, which is what we're doing tonight. And these are created for beginners, just to kind of, because I want them to succeed. When you find that you can succeed and complete a painting, then that gives you the confidence to go further. So you're just going to do about 1.5 inches to 2 inches on the bottom, and you're going to lay this in the middle, and we are just going to go about 3/4 of the way up on the plate. So it's going to look like it's just going to have a couple of marks there, and I'm going to go ahead and paint that in with some white so you can see it a little bit better, because I realize you may not be able to see it very well. Let's see. Are you able to see it? Oh, it looks like, yeah, it looks like you guys can see it pretty well. Okay, so our next color that we're going to use is called White Swan, and it's just a true white. So you're going to want to get a little bit of that, and I'm still not going to use my gel yet. So my gel medium, I'm actually going to wait and use that on the florals, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and go back to that bigger brush, and we're going to kind of find the middle of this, okay? I'm going to find the middle, and we're going to kind of make a football shape on the middle of this. Now the bottom of it needs to be a little bit rounded. We don't want it too pointy at the bottom, right? And it is okay if some of the blue shows from underneath, because I think that's going to give it a little bit of depth when you have a little bit of dark color on your underpainting. So this background part is called an underpainting. It is going to give you some depth, so you'll be able to see that. Now gang, if your paint is not thick enough, go ahead and mix in about a tablespoon of your modeling texture medium, okay? Which I just use the Liquitex. It's up to you. I'm going to wait and use mine just on the flowers, just for drying time, so it'll be dry for us, okay? So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to keep that shape, and then as we work our way out, we're going to kind of make a little bit of a pie shape, and we want to pull in. So we're kind of making a little bit of a smile here. And I'm going to switch over to my smaller brush, or my smaller knife, just because this to me is always my favorite. So I'm going to switch back over. This one has a little more bend to it. So I'm just scooping it, and then I'm just going to apply. And you want to make sure that you keep your lines in there, right? So that it looks like a pumpkin, so you can kind of see those lines. Okay. So we're getting to where we're almost going to do a crescent shape as we get to the outside edges. You want to think of a crescent. Keep that shape. Notice I've not completely finished off the bottom. Okay, you want to kind of have a little tiny bit of roundness here, but you don't want it to be a complete circle. So you're going to have to find a little bit of a happy medium shape there. Again, we're going to put in our crescent. A little bit about the club, gang, too. If anybody ever has issues, let's say I was working with somebody and we were doing a class in the club and somebody had trouble, they could put their picture in the group. It's a private group. They could add their picture there. And what I do is I digitally go in and help them that way. Or I can even do like a FaceTime with them. I've done that as well, and to help them through if they get stuck. So that's the biggest part of why you want to be in the group, is that you get that kind of one-on-one attention that you just, don't get. Another thing that is so nice about it is, we're just going to keep working. Look how pretty that turned out, guys. So you just kind of let a little bit of that blue show through on that underneath. It almost lets it kind of looks like shadows or something like that. Are you all able to see okay? Thought it looked like a new do. Yeah, it's like I just got it cut, actually. So thank you, you guys. Got off topic, didn't we? Any other questions that I'm missing? Because I'm not sure that I'm able to see everything as it comes in. So ladies, those of you that are in my group, if you could please help answer any questions that maybe I miss, I would be so grateful to all of you. I know they're in here doing the class with us. So this is what it's looking like. Can you see all of the shadows that it has? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is, hopefully you have, I hope that I put chalk on the list, guys, and I think maybe I did not. So you can lightly sketch if you have a little pencil, or you can just make a light mark with your white paint if you want to. But in the group, we always have our chalk handy. So I'm kind of thinking I did not put that on the list. Let's see. In my chalk. There it is. So next, what we want to do, we're just going to kind of work on another area. So a lot of times I'll get you started, and as we're waiting on that to dry, we kind of go and work on something else, and that's what we're going to do. So the next phase that we're going to do is we're going to set up the shape of our main flowers. So our main flowers are going to be this one right here. This is the superstar of the show right here. She's sitting right in the center pretty much. She's a little bit off to my right would be, just slightly off. And then we have this one that's looking up towards this direction. I'm going to kind of write on here so you can see. And then we have this one that's kind of tilted towards us just slightly. Okay, so those are the three flowers that we're going to work on right now. So if you have a piece of chalk handy or just something where you can kind of lightly sketch, we're going to kind of just lightly, so the middle of it's here, we're going to put that big flower. It's going to start right here. It's kind of where that one's going to start, and it's a little bit dry, or I'm sorry, it's a little bit wet. And that's okay, we're not going to worry about that. So this flower is going to be facing us, so it's kind of just kind of a wonky round shape. The thing about it is, if you want it to be a little more realistic rather than whimsical, like you could totally leave it a round shape and you'll get more of a whimsical look, and there's nothing wrong with that. Whimsical is beautiful and I love it. But if you want it a little more natural, you want it to be a little off-kiltered, is what I like to say. So there's our first one, and our next one is going to go somewhere around here, and it's going to come out this way, and it's going to have a little kind of a funkier shape, but it's going to be facing up that way, okay? Got my little arrow there, and then we're going to work this one in kind of in the background here a little bit, and there's that, okay? That's all we're going to worry about right now. Don't think of anything else but these 3 flowers, okay? So also, while you're working on these 3 flowers, try to give yourself a little bit of space in between the flowers so that we can add some greenery, okay? So if you get it so tight, you won't have room for all the little extra little filler and the things that make it light and airy, okay? So, are there any questions this far, everyone? How's everybody doing? I'm trying to catch up on your comments here. Let's see if I can see them all. I'm not seeing any questions. Now, remember also, if I start to get ahead of you, that you can watch the replay, right? You can always watch the replay and watch it again if you need to. So the next color that I have here is called Cherry Picked, and it is just this beautiful black cherry kind of a color, or even kind of eggplant looking. So I'm going to put a little bit of that on my plate here. Hope you guys can see me. And I also have my white in here. I've got a little, let me just stir this up just a little bit. And this is pretty thick, so I am probably not going to use as much texture medium maybe as what you would need, depending on what paint you're using. I'm going to put about a good 1.5 tablespoons or so on there of my color. That might be too much, but we'll see. Always hate wasting my paint. Good so far? Doing well. Everybody's keeping up? Awesome. Awesome. I love to hear that. Now, that is the one thing that I have to say that is so nice about the online group, is that you don't have to be done within an 1.5 to a 2-hour class. So I do classes in here in my studio, and it's kind of like when your 2 hours is up, boom, you got to go. You know, it's not like that. This group is a very it's just very mellow. You can kind of go back and forth in the class as you need it, and then I'm always there for questions and answers and ideas and to help you along. So it's not like a regular class where after that 2 hours is up, then it's done. So it's actually a very good way to learn if you're wanting to really dive in and, you know, get those creative juices flowing. Okay, so next I want to use my textile. This is called Flexible Modeling Paste. It's medium gel is what I'm using. I do have another one. You guys, and just use what you can get access to, okay? What this does is it allows you to have a really, really thick, it's called impasto style, when you paint really, really thick. And I'm going to dig in there, and I'm going to put about a nice sized teaspoon in there, and I'm going to mix it in that darker color, okay? And I'm mixing it, and it's going to make it real thick. It's almost going to make it like similar to like a toothpaste consistency. Hopefully you can see okay. And usually in the group, it's a little easier to follow because we have quite a few doing this with us tonight, but they usually let me know if they can't see or if they have questions on the mixing. But with the mixing with the gel medium, it's really just kind of use however much you want. If you want it thicker, you can put more in there. But this is about how I like mine. If you can see when can you see the peaks when you touch it and you have a little bit of I call them peaks? That's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't know if you can see that okay. So that's how I like mine, and that's kind of where I take it. So now I've got the white swan, which is on the other side of my plate, and I'm going to go ahead and, no, it does not dilute your color. It shouldn't anyway. It should not dilute it very much. I'm going to go ahead and I'm pushing in my white so that I'm creating a nice deep lavender shade, okay? So this is where we get to have a little bit of fun with the color, because we will be able to mix some of that deeper color in as well as the lighter color, okay? And I'm also going to pull on some more white, and I want to keep it solid white over here. And then we can get started. I'm trying to keep my plate where you all can see it, but I don't know if how possible that's going to be. We shall see. There, how's that? Can you all see that? I want to make sure I put my lid on my gel medium too. And please, you can always, if you have, you know, like a phone or something nearby, on the materials list, you can always pull up that original picture of that original one to look at as well if you're having trouble seeing. Looks yummy. Okay, so I'm gonna pull in here, and I'm gonna actually want to use my other favorite I'm gonna use my little favorite knife, and I'm going to start with my middle, and I'm kind of making these circular kind of motions, almost like you're putting in smiles, right? But you want it to be choppy, so you can see already just with what I do, 4 or 5 strokes, it's already just starting to look like a flower on its own. That is how easy a painting with a knife is. And I'm grabbing some of my white. What you're gonna wanna do is make sure you're pulling in all these different colors, and you don't want the colors to completely mix, okay? Because with the knife painting, so we're just gonna get this, let me get this covered really good with the base coat of the lavender. And then over top of that, we'll do some other colors. Do not, if you're going for a realistic kind of a look, you want to kind of give it a little bit of an off-kiltered kind of a shape. So don't feel like you have to keep that completely rounded look, okay? And notice I took my knife off onto that white, so it makes it look like a loose petal. So I've got that lavender laid in there, and you can go back in and hit it just with some white strokes, and don't blend those strokes in. You want those strokes to lay in there solid. Okay? So if you are new and you're having trouble and you're blending it too much, then go on to the other flowers and start filling the other flowers in, and you can always come back if you want, if you're getting it mixed too much. Because what we want is we want to see those chunky layers. See that? It's already making it look like a bit of a flower. Now, I am already, this one's looking a little bit different than my other one already. So if you want to lighten it up, then you can add more white. You have a little variation, you know. And by all means, if you want to do some different colors, say if you don't want to do the lavender, you can kind of pick your own colors. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue on to my other mixing my colors as I go. And don't worry if it's not the exact same color or shade, because that's actually going to help make your flowers stand out a little bit. If they're not the exact same color. So maybe this one is going to be a little bit lighter. And so with this one, this flower is facing this corner up here. It's not facing towards us. So we want to make our petals to where we are loading our brush. We're loading our knife and we're pushing it. We're going to push it up. See how I just kind of made a petal by pushing? That's all I did. I loaded that. It's loaded, and then I'm going to push. I'm pushing. And then back behind, I'm just going to put in some little pull it maybe. I'm going to pull it in another direction. You want those flowers to look like they're separate little petals. Now it's going to look a little messy at first because we still have our first layers on here, right? The more we do, the more it's going to get a little more defined. So I don't want you to be too hard on yourselves. We are not allowed to be mean to ourselves. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work on this other one. This other one is kind of a little more abstract and free-flowing. Maybe it's been hit by the wind a little bit, and we're just going to follow that off-kilter kind of shape. And we're just filling in that collar right now. Just fill it in. Let's see if we have any questions. You're such a good teacher. Oh, thank you. Yes, you all will do FaceTime. I have done. Yep. Kristen from She Paints is in my group. Yes, we have definitely done some. We have done some FaceTimes, haven't we, girl? Kristen, your painting techniques have just been so amazing. I loved watching you grow, and you're just doing some amazing things. Okay, I'm just checking my questions, letting this sit for a second. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in with my straight white right now, and I'm going to push a little bit of that white into it. Now, when I'm dragging it, I'm kind of letting my palette knife bounce a little bit as I pull it, okay? And what that does is it gives it that kind of that thick look that we're looking for, giving it a little bit of impasto, kind of a chunky look. So I'm going right inside. This isn't dry yet, but I'm still just putting in some solid strokes of that white so that it makes it pop a little bit, right? I'm going to pull this, and then we'll go back over with some dark here in a little bit. Let's go over here and pull in some highlights. Pull in some highlights here. Touch over here, and this one we want the inside of that one to be a little bit darker, so maybe it has a little shadows and things like that, so I'm going to kind of leave that. Okay, let's go. For our shadows, we'll go into some of our darker, and it's up to you, the contrast. If you want it to be just a little dark but not too much, you can, if you want a contrast to be really deep, you can go right into the darker. But I think I want to start lighter and then go from there. And I'm just going to do like little touches. I'm barely touching. It's not dark enough, so I'm going to go back in. Let's see what we can do to add a little bit of. There we go. That's better. Just a little touch. You don't want to mess up, you know, you don't want to cover up what you just did. So just add a little hints, little tiny touches. I'm barely touching the center of this. I'm kind of doing this circular kind of a motion. When I am holding this knife, I'm holding it very soft and I'm twisting it like this as I'm moving my knife. I'm moving it and I'm moving my wrist like this, and sometimes I'll give it a little light twist and it gives it just that nice little soft touch that it needs, that soft shadow without being too much. Okay, so right now they all three look like they're the exact same color to me, so I am going to lighten up the one in the front just a little bit more. Okay, lighten it up just a little bit. I am so happy to have you all here painting. How fun, right? I tell you, it's my favorite thing to do is to paint in the group, in the Creators Club. It's my favorite day. I always tell them Tuesdays are my favorite day. So by the way, the Creators Club will open. I will open the doors tomorrow. Okay, it's only going to be open for a few days. There's no long, you don't sign a contract. You guys can come and if it's not your thing, you don't have to stay. I'm not going to hold you hostage or anything. But my thing is that my hope is that you will come and grow and connect and really thrive in there. So something else that you get in the Creators Club is you get free access to any of my tutorials that I have. So my Door Envy tutorial, I'm just going back in with a little touch of dark. See how that just makes it pop? Here we go. So you can kind of play around with it. The modeling paste gives you a little bit of, it's called open time is what it's called, and all that means, it's a little fancy word, it means basically it gives you more time to play. Okay, gives you open time, and I think I'm happy with that right now, guys. I'm liking that one. So anyway, so in the club, because you are a club member, you have access to any of my tutorials. I have a texturized tutorial. I have an old, like a vintage truck tutorial. I have some furniture painting tutorials, that sort of thing. Can't wait to try this, says Donna. You make it look easy. Donna, I promise you that if you get started with the knives, you will just love it. And especially for beginners, I feel like it's a great way to start. Okay. Let's see. It's enjoyable, says Mary. Are the lives in the PM? Once in a while, I'll do them in the PM. Typically, it is Tuesday at 2. Because we have an event space on the other side of me, and sometimes there's events going on. Like there's one going on in another room, so it's not too bad. But if it was in the other side of the wall, it would be too loud. But what I can do and will do and sometimes do is I'll schedule some in the evening so that we can change it up a little bit. So, but the lights are always there for you to watch. Okay, so we have that. Let's do, I'm gonna change my plate. I need a clean plate. And I'm gonna grab some pink. And I just grabbed my kissing booth. I didn't have my lighter pink on hand, so I'm just gonna grab my kissing booth, which is kind of like a fuchsia, and I'm just gonna add some white to it. And I'm going to grab my knife, and just to show you what we're doing next is we are going to go ahead and give these little flowers a try. So those are very painterly and abstract, and I'm just going to push some of my pink into that white, making almost like a bubblegum color is really what it's looking like. And with this, we're just doing a little cluster of marks, and we're going to take the point of that brush and we're just going to kind of go up and down, and we're going to kind of just make some little shapes with that. You can even, if you want to, you can even just get in there with your fingers. If you even want to get in there, we like to use our fingers a lot when we get in there. And we're just going to fill in this space right here. I'm going to leave a little bit for the greenery, but I want to pull it over top of, I'm going to pull it over the side of that little pumpkin there. And it's just kind of thick. If you're not comfortable using your fingers, go back to the knife, and we're just making some abstract marks just with the pink. We're not doing anything else right now. So what we're doing is basically just making a kind of a cluster of flowers right now. It's abstract, okay? So once we get that on there, we're going to go for our white. We want some white. And we can add, if you want to add a little more texture medium to it, you can. How many of you are using the texture medium? Listening and looking while stripping the wardrobe. That sounds pretty cool, Candace. Let's see, somebody said good morning. Must be Australia. Hey Jane, how are you? Good to see you. If you would like to add a little bit of the texture medium, by all means you can grab that, and I'm going to put that right inside my white, okay? Texture medium right inside my white. And I'm going to add a little, not too much, because I want it to be a contrast, okay? Add a little bit of pink to that. Can you see okay? And then you're going to take your knife and you're going to kind of add just little touches to there. If you want to go back and add your fingers to add it, that's good too. Sometimes I like a mix because it gives a different texture than the knife by using the tip of your finger. So you can kind of have fun with it. By tapping it, you'll get little high points and peaks. So go ahead and just kind of mix that in there. If you want to add some, go back in with the more of the brighter pink. So you're basically kind of mixing different shades in there. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of lightly taking the very tip of my little knife, and I'm just kind of doing these little, almost like little figure eights, right? And I'm skimming the top of it so that it gives it texture. It's going to look like one of those tight clusters. I don't know my florals to tell you, but kind of like a hydrangea has all those little clusters and layers. That's kind of what we're creating, but only it's pink. I guess hydrangeas can be pink too, right? So maybe this is hydrangea. So we're just kind of doing these little scumbles or scribbles. Okay. I am using texture for the first time, says Mary. Awesome, Mary. I didn't have the texture medium, looked around the room, and plaster of, yes, plaster of Paris will definitely work. I'm not sure how it will dry. It will probably crack if if your canvas gets bent a little bit, it may crack a little bit on you, but it totally will work though. And I love the fact that you're improvising, Tammy. That is what I teach. I teach that a lot, to try to improvise on things, okay? All right, so let's go. I'm gonna pull a little bit of my coral out. Let me get another plate. Going through the plates tonight, huh? Okay. So let's go ahead and do, I'm gonna put some coral on here. And I want to go ahead and get my greens on my plate. So let's start with, it's almost like a sagey kind of a green, or a olive green. It's called Avery. And I want to get just a little bit of that on here. Let's see, a little bit of that. And I'm going to go ahead and put all 3 of my greens on here. And meanwhile, this is all kind of drying a little bit, which is good. So we're just going to kind of let that dry while we layer all of the paints. I'm also going to put a color called Monet's Garden, which is this beautiful, beautiful kind of forest, kind of a green, I would say. Very pretty, dark green. So let's put some of that on here too. And that's really going to pop. It's going to give it some shadows. Be careful that you don't smudge, your flowers right now. They're going to take a second to dry. Are there any questions at all that any of you may have about the Creators Club? Cracks can be good, says Diane. That is for sure. Hi, Heather. So glad to see you. S, the bottom vase or pumpkin would be cute. Pumpkin. Okay. I'm looking. If you have questions, just put them in here. I also do some furniture painting techniques in there. And I have also done some classes on Facebook Lives, how to set up your camera, anything that would help the members in there. So, Jackie, it's $27 a month, which is great because if you come into my studio to do this class, it's $35 for 2 hours. So you're doing pretty good. And you get several classes a month. You get at least 3 art classes. We do one class a week, and then I do a Q&A and a creative encouragement. And then I've also done some teaching on how to set up your camera for YouTube and Facebook Lives, and how to do a live and all that. So whatever the members want, I'm just, you have access to me, whether it's a professional question, if you're wanting to be a professional and sell your work, or if you're, somebody that is just wanting to be there as a hobby. So that is, you have that access to me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go back to my brush my favorite knife that I like, which is this little skinny guy. And I'm going to start with the color that is a little more on the, so they're starting to look the same to me as I got them out here. I think did I do the same one? Hold on. Thinking I poured the same color. I think I maybe did. Okay, that's all right. So we're gonna go ahead and use the sage color, and anywhere you see there's a little bit of an opening, you're gonna just kind of dab it in there, okay? If your flowers are wet, you wanna make sure you're only placing it on the top. We're not mixing it, okay? So I'm filling this space in, and then I'm gonna take my little knife and I'm gonna turn it so the point is facing downwards, and I'm going to place it down and I'm going to pull in, and there's a leaf, okay? So again, I'm going to dab anywhere I see an opening, and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn my knife and I'm going to use that pointy side, and I'm going to just lay it down and make a little bit of a leaf shape there, okay? So we're going to continue. I'm going to find the openings, and we're going to just start. If you're comfortable, you notice I've got more room than these little tight areas, so I'm going to start pulling some color out. I'm going to, don't be afraid to put some movement on this, okay? Have fun with it. If you need to practice on a plate or on a napkin or something, you can always practice before you do this if this makes you a little bit nervous. Don't be afraid of it though, okay? So and I just splattered, and that's okay. So we're just going to take this and we're gonna run this up here, like this. And I'm using that point to get that pointy part. And let's see, let's take it over here. And I'm gonna dab it, I wanna fill in. And what I'm doing is I'm working, filling in any open spaces. I'm kind of just putting in filler. And we're making little marks that can kind of be thought of as maybe little sticks or anything like that. Okay. So work your way all the way around, and then we'll change our color here in a minute. Do be careful if your flowers are still wet, because I realize we are, working on a quick little class here. So if you notice, I came in and I made it thick here, and then I took it down and I stopped. Hopefully you can see. And then I took my point and pulled it around, okay? So just kind of allow your knife to move a little bit if you need to, okay? If you need to pull and move it, allow yourself time to do that. Allow yourself maybe an area or a sample area that you can just play with this knife as you're dragging it and pulling it, because that's what's going to give it that kind of that realistic kind of a look. Okay? All right, so we got that in, and we're going to go in with our darker green now. And I want some of this dark green deep into some of the deep areas of this. So that's going to give it a little bit of depth when you do that. Add in just a little touch of dark color here and there. Okay. Here. I'm kind of just doing little bits and touches. I don't want to completely outline it. We're not doing a whimsical look here. We're just kind of doing a more of a painterly. So if you were doing more of a whimsical style, you would outline it. You know, you would have more of a defined outline. Donna just loves this. Thank you. Thank you for answering, Cheryl. Is the club online? Carrie, it is online. I was just explaining what a great actually deal that you get when you are online, because if you were to come inside my studio and do this class, you would have 2 hours to get this done, and then you would be done with me. You would be done with me. No, but my point is, when you're in the group, you have access to me and help from me, and I've done lives with the girls, and I do digital things on their paintings if I need to go in digitally and make marks and to help them through. So it's been really fun and interesting the way it's evolved. So I want to show you what I just did there. So I'm on my dark color. I've loaded my knife up, and then I'm taking it to the point and I'm pushing it down and I'm swirling it, and then I'm kind of just making a wave. Okay, see how it gives it kind of that realistic little bit of a feel. So have fun with this, play with it. Sometimes you'll find a specific knife that just feels good in your hand, just like a brush. You know, sometimes we find the perfect brush that maybe for somebody else they're like, wow, I don't know how you paint with that, but for you it just, there's something about the handle or the shape of it. You really need to explore sometimes, and I always think that's the best way. So I'm going to go on top here, add some little shadows on top. Okay. Oh, how's your painting coming along, everyone? How's it coming? Okay, so next, what I want to do is I want to do this bright color, which I thought I poured on here, and I was talking and not paying any attention. I thought I was using this color. This is called Salty Kiss, and it's a very bright, kind of a, I'm not going to say a pure green, but it has a little bit of a blue. It's a blue tone to it, but it's green, it's bright. But you can use what you have and play with the colors you have, but I did want to show you what I was using. It's called the Salty Kiss, and it's just a yummy, bright green with a little, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just kind of yummy, for lack of a better term. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of fun with this color, because we are going to take this and we are going to take a little bit of our, let's add a little touch of yellow to it, and just to make it even pop more, it's going to be bright. It's almost going to give it like, oh, I don't want to say yarrow, but if you know what yarrow is, it makes it more of a lime green. It's what it's going to do. So if you have a lime green or something brighter, then you could use that. So I'm going to load this on, and I'm going to just have some fun, and I'm going to make some little bright. I'm just taking the top of my knife, I'm loading it, and I'm kind of just smacking it and dabbing it, okay? So I'm going to load my knife so that I can put a nice, like a line, like a straight line. See how I did that? Just ran it right out there. And then I'm going to take the very tip of that, and I'm going to start just lightly touching it, okay? We're going to dab it, tap, we're kind of tapping it. And you know what? I think I'm gonna have some fun with this, and I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow to it too, to even make it brighter so that it's not all just the same color. Okay? So we're going to tap, tap, tap. If it's easier and you want to do this with your finger, it's maybe going to be a little bit thicker, but that's okay. You can get in there with your fingers and try it too. Okay? This is looking okay, guys. I mean, it's looking a little different than my other one, but that's okay. And that is kind of very, very common. No matter, I can paint the exact same painting and it'll look different every time. I'm just kind of putting lines, and then I'm going to go in with my fingers and I'm going to add some little dots. Add some little tapping, little taps, dots. Almost like they're little clusters of filler. You want to be able to see some background because we're trying to make it, we're giving it a little bit of a light and airy kind of a feel. So if you completely cover that, fill that in, it's not going to be light and airy, right? It'll kind of make it heavier. So we want some of that background showing. And we're tapping and tapping. And I think I need some on the other side. And you can have, this is where you can kind of have fun with it. If you want to have some that kind of curl down, we can curl some down. And this is where, you know, just kind of let your own personalities come out when you're doing these paintings, guys. My goal for the Splatter and Chatter is to walk a person step by step if they're new and they're insecure in themselves, and they just, you know, and to show them that you can do this. Watch, just follow me, watch this and do this. And then they do it, then they start putting their own spin on it, right? Then they start kind of like, ooh, I kind of like this style, and they kind of find their own voice. So my goal for you being in the Creators Club is to not keep you only able to do Splatter and Chatter classes. My goal is to get you to do this, confidence, enjoyment, and then to watch you grow and to see you just flourish. I'm loving it so far, gang. I'm liking all the, this is getting a little more airier than my other one. So next is I'm gonna go in with my coral, and we're gonna do some fun little coral pops. I'm going to go right in with the little airy places that I've already put in. I'm going to add some in. Sorry, I hope you guys can hear okay. All right, we're going to go. I think the coral really kind of adds a little something to it. So these little touches here, you guys can always add your own little touches if you have an idea of maybe a different color that you think would, of course, match your decor or your home. By all means, add that, okay? Have fun with it. So I'm going to go ahead and bit in here. We're getting real close to being done here, gang. Got a few little touches. So I will tell you that the key to it, from looking like a flat painting to really looking like it's just this beautiful work of art that you fall in love with is paying attention to those little details and those final little touches, which is what we're putting in now. We're doing those little final touches, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to go back in ever so gently. Notice what I said? Ever so gently. And I'm going to take my coral and I'm going to put a little bit of white beside my coral just in case I need to dilute it down a little bit. We'll see. I'm going to mix a little bit of coral with white and softly. I want you to do this really soft. I'm just going to lightly add a little bit on the tops of those peaks to my flowers. Kind of pulls it all together. Just kind of when that little magic starts to happen, right? Very lightly, guys, just very lightly. Now, if something happens and you get too heavy-handed with this, there's no worries because this is just paint and we can just go over it. You know, I don't want you getting upset especially if you're new to using a knife, but very, very light touch. You can even go in and with your finger, if you need to mute it down some, you can take that white, mute it down some if you feel like it got too heavy. I kind of like it that way. I'm okay. I am not hating on it, you know? I am not hating on it. So, other than that, we can take, let's see, what else did we do? We'll take a little bit of that mustard, kind of a yellow, which is Queen Bee. And I'm going to use my finger. And if you use your fingers, you can go in with your different, like you can use your pinky and your ring finger, so you can get different size little dots. And I'm going to kind of put some highlights on some of where my coral is up here. Just add that, just for a little extra something. Just a little extra something, right? It ain't gonna hurt anybody. Add a little extra something. All these little touches just give it a little extra highlights. And by all means, if you want to highlight it with something else, maybe you want to highlight it with a pink or whatever, that's completely up to you. So we're just kind of add some little fun touches. Voila. Voila. Okay. I'm okay with this. Okay, so our next little step. This is just a really quick little step. It's not going to take but a second. If I can find it, I'm going to grab a color called Tarnished Pearl, which is a vintage white. And I'm going to take my favorite little knife, and I'm going to just dip right into there. And I'm going to follow, whoops, I got some coral on there, guys, hold on. Wipe your knife off really good or you're going to end up doing what I just did. Okay. Okay, let's start over. Make sure you wipe your knife off really good in between colors. Okay. Redo. We're going to go back up here and we're going to lightly drag. I don't want you to fully cover it. We're going to make it bounce so that a lot of that white is showing. We don't want to completely cover up all that white. We're just going to do another layer and we're going to follow those lines, making sure that it has all those little indentations that those little pumpkins have, right? how many of you are still with me? How many still painting, or are you done already? So typically, just to let you know, when you are in the Creators Club, I typically have an hour to, sometimes we go into an hour and a half. It just depends. Just depends on the complexity of it. We did a hand painting that took us a little bit longer, or us meaning it took me a little bit longer. But that's typically what I allot for. So there we've got our cream on top of there, and you notice with each layer it's starting to pop a little bit more. And I'm wiping off my knife, and now I'm going to use just a little touch of prairie gray, which is this clay kind of a color. And you can just take that clay color and add like just this little hint of shadow. If it's too bold, like that might be too bold, I might want to add some of that white to it. So you can add some of that white to it if you need to. Okay, a little bit. And we're going to add a little shadow down here with that, and we're just going to kind of pull that out. It's a shadow, right? We're just kind of dragging it. And then also with this gray, if you want to kind of use that edge, you can put like a little bit of a, define those lines a little bit if you want, okay? And that's basically it. That's the gist of it. Sometimes in our class, if they're really long and in depth or whatever, we kind of can come back to it, or with my intuitive paintings, those always get started, and then sometimes I'm working on it throughout the week sometimes. Let me change this. Let's see. Change this. There we go. So yeah, so that is a really, really good sample of what it's like to do a Splatter and Chatter class in the Creators Club. And I would love to answer any of your questions about it. Like I said, we have the group is opening up to anybody that wants to join. I only do that once or twice a year. And the reason that I do that, gang, and it's not that I don't want new people coming in, and it's not that I want to exclude people, because I don't. The reason is that I really just want to be in there to focus, and I want to be loving on my people, and I want to give them the attention that they deserve as members of my group, rather than new people coming in and getting everybody up to speed and all that good stuff. But when you do come into the group, I have it set up in units, so that if you are a new painter, you know where the Splatter and Chatter classes are. Thanks, Karen. I have loved watching you grow. If you are a beginner, you know right where the Splatter and Chatter classes are, and you can get started as soon as you go in there. I have probably about a year and a half worth of classes in there. I should count the classes because there are so many classes. So as soon as you get into the group, there are videos for you to get started. So you can either do the classes that I've done live in the group. You will also have all of my tutorials and videos that are free to you just for being in the group. So you get a ton for for $27 a month. You get a ton when you come in. There's no obligation. You don't have to stay. It's not that kind of a group. You don't sign a contract, so I don't want you to worry about that. It is opening tomorrow, and it is only open for a few days. So if anyone has questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer anything. If you need to talk about any of the, if you're a little bit worried about the intuitive art, and I may come live and do a little intuitive painting once the doors open in a day or two, just so you guys, it's not, I don't think it's something that I want to do interacting with a live class, but I think that would be fun for you guys just to kind of watch me create and talk about it maybe, because intuitive art is very, it's very personal. It's very personal to you, the person painting. And what I do in there is I give you different exercises and techniques to practice. To get you started. I teach you how to get started with the intuitive art and how to achieve a finished look when you're just new at it and you kind of don't know where you're going and what you're doing. I give you little ways to do the intuitive art and then complete a cohesive look. I teach you how to do that. So intuitive painting, it's really just kind of impulse painting. It's almost like you are retraining yourself to be a kid again and paint. Paint without like, oh no, if I mix this and that together, it might not look good. You're almost just being a kid again. It's kind of painting without, you're kind of breaking the rules, first of all. And who doesn't love to break rules, you know? Although there are some of you, I have to say, this is a great exercise for the perfectionist, the person that has to know exactly how something's going to be. So this is very, yes, that is correct. She paints without inhibition. This is a great practice for people that want to have control and they have trouble losing control. This is a great exercise for them. It's also something it's almost like therapy to me, because I mean I can have a bad day and start an intuitive piece and just like, wow, where'd that come from? I just had some stress that like I feel so much better. So sometimes it's about that. But it is it's my most favorite way of painting, because it just, you can kind of even go into it with a little bit of a plan and it goes way off to, you know, the right or left field. So it's a lot of fun. Anyway, the doors open tomorrow. I will be dropping a link in here. And actually, I'm going to try to get that link ready for midnight tonight. So I will be dropping the link to that. I'll be sending out emails. So if you're on my email, and if you've got a materials list, you should be on my email list. If you didn't get a materials list, go get your materials list, and then that'll put you automatically on the email list. And I will be sending out emails as soon as that happens. So did you enjoy it, everybody? Was it, tell me, was it easier or what? How did you do? And please be nice to yourself. That is the one thing, you know, you need to really allow yourself to learn. Art can be learned. You don't just wake up and know these things. So that is something that, you know, I want you to remember, that, you know, you will get better and better and better. It's a muscle that we need to exercise, just like anything. Donna loved it and she's doing it tomorrow. Sherry says, awesome, thanks. Thank you, Sandra. I'm so happy that you are here. It looks okay, but I do need work. Well, that's what I'm for. So, and the more that you do it, the more you will kind of get the hang of it. So I didn't just wake up painting like this. I mean, I've loved painting all my life. Was I always good at it? No. So just allow yourself to get through the beginner process. And don't look at somebody that has been a painter for all their life and they've practiced all their life. Don't judge your beginning to their middle or to their wherever they're at, you know? Allow yourself the fun in the beginning of it. And that's when the intuitive stuff comes in really cool for the beginners. So, all right, gang, I hope so much that you enjoyed this. Martha says it was great. I've never used a knife before. Yes, we don't allow ourselves to be beginners. That's true. And I have to remind myself that when I am, like right now, I am doing the techie stuff for this class. So if something happens and you can't get in the club, please let me know, because I'm still learning, you know, with the techie stuff and, you know, the marketing and all that. So that's where when I get frustrated, I have to like, okay, take your own advice, Kelly. You know, so, but we like to forget sometimes. But I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will, I know some of you thought that the membership was open already, and I appreciate your messages. I will open the doors. I'm hopefully going to open the doors at midnight tonight, Wednesday, and it'll be open just for a few days. Okay, and remember, you can come in. You don't have to sign to stay for 5 years. Thank you all so much. I will see you at the next class. All right? You're welcome, Sherry. Bye.